When it comes to the current consolidation of ADA, I mean, we were just around 80 cents not long ago, right? This was back in March. It's the end of April right now, and we've plummeted down to around 40 cents, like a 50% fall. And right now, ADA is consolidating between the 20-week moving average and the 50-week moving average. It's kind of just hanging out there. So indecisive between the two. Many ADA holders are just wondering, myself included, is crypto going lower? And is ADA going to have some pain ahead, right? Or we're going to finally get the breakout above the 20, the true breakout for ADA that really will help in neutralizing the negativity when it comes to ADA price. I want to talk about that. I want to actually look at this area on the weekly, but I also want to zoom in on the daily and even the 6 hour and just talk about what I'm anticipating for short-term price movements. So hit the subscribe, hit the like, let's jump into the video. It's going to be really just a straight up technical analysis type of video. I want to give an illustration to get a really good vibe. This is how Cardano works. And I've said this for years. Cardano is an underdog. I want to show you a quick clip. This is how Cardano works. I think this is a really good illustration I put together earlier in the day. Check this out real quick. So it's about finding or spotting where is ADA right now at this part of the cycle. Where are we? Could be right here. Could be kind of right here. Maybe right here. I think we're like right around there. That's where I think we are right now. We still have a ways to go for sure, but I think we're right around here. If you want to see what happens next, and believe me, you want to see what happens next, hit the link in the description below. This is, I'll put a link. This is a post I did earlier. I just said typical Cardano cycle information. Cardano will make its move. And that's really how I feel as a Cardano content creator. It's just like, there is just, ADA price doing something that a lot of ADA holders and the markets in general don't like, right? Maybe even underperforming for a season. And as it is, the negativity, the misinformation about Cardano as a whole, it just comes barreling in, right? And all of a sudden, though, Cardano does something spectacular. I really think that's going to happen once again. And put aside, the fundamentals of Cardano and what makes me very bullish on Cardano. When you look at the charts, even we see so much synergy from last cycle. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, but I want to zoom in and look at this on a little bit deeper level. I started the video kind of just saying we're just in between this 20-week to 50-week, and it's just like, what is going to happen next? And there is room for downside, right? We've talked about, I think in the last video, the potential for just a really ugly throwback to the upper trend line of that formation. It'd be incredibly ugly, the lower 30s for ADA. It's in play. And as I sit here and do technical analysis, I'm very bullish, and I remain bullish on ADA, even if that happens. But I'm not going to sit here and ignore bearish data when it's just clearly on the screen, right? That throwback is especially in play because we broke out of the lower trend line of this rising wedge here. We were all hoping that crypto would go higher and Cardano would get the bullish move to the upside, but crypto consolidated. Cardano's not the only one down, but Cardano's down from 80 cents, hitting 40 cents or so at one point. Right now, around 50 cents. A lot of people like, man, why is ADA not at $1 yet? And so we start the analysis. And I say this a lot. I'm just going to mention it because it's important. Bitcoin halving just happened. ADA right now from all-time high is down around 83%. Last Bitcoin halving, ADA from all-time high was down around 95%. So give or take, I mean, it could be 92% or the bottom of that candle could be 96%, but ADA down. And even if we go and we look at the area months after the halving that we're kind of comparing the consolidation to of ADA that is between the 20 and the 50, and we look at this area, even if we look there, from all-time high, ADA at that moment was down 92%. Even when it broke that 20-week moving average, ADA was down 88%. So, and that was months after last halving. So I just really want to put that into perspective. Now, if we look at the monthly momentum oscillator for ADA, this is something that you can look at one of two ways. You can look at the RSI in the middle of the screen right here, the slower moving momentum oscillator, and like, man, all that bullish momentum ADA had just completely lost. Or you can look at it like this. ADA has escaped the bear market and right now has cooled down, and we have a ton of upside right now. And if you look at this general area on the RSI, the momentum oscillator, it really does give an illustration of how much upside there is, right? It's when we're in overbought, there needs to be red flags. There does not need to be red flags right now in terms of the momentum oscillator. And if you look at this move back here, this was basically August to December of 2020. Very similar area of consolidation for ADA on the RSI. Where was that? It was right here between the 20, between the 50, and ADA just needed to consolidate for months. Higher highs and higher lows at the time. Notice the stock RSI, quicker moving momentum oscillator. Very similar move there on the screen. And that's the other thing on the weekly I wanted to talk about, and then we'll dig into the daily and then the 6 hour. But the quicker moving momentum oscillator, the stock RSI, I think if we're going to pick any data point to compare the move right now, the best one would be this one, because it's that similar consolidation on the weekly between those moving averages. And it's at a very similar time, right? The Bitcoin halving was right there in May 2020. So if we're looking at that alone, that was a bottoming out area, higher low area for ADA, and ADA continued to the upside. We can ask the question, is it going to be a bottoming out type of move, and ADA is going to escape, if I can expand this just a little so we can see this, escape the oversold environment that it is in on the stock RSI and do the same thing? That's the question. That's what we'll be analyzing and watching over the coming weeks. But the other thing I wanted to mention here is, even if you go to the last time, this was the bottoming out formation of the bear market, the last time ADA was in this stock RSI oversold, it drew up from that area. And then even if you go to the time before that, this wasn't the exact bottom, right? But there was a move to the upside to key moving averages right there. And so bear or bull, when the stock RSI is bottoming, we either see a really strong reversal, or we at the very least, most of the time, we'll see a key test of moving average. So in this case, I'm really wondering when ADA tests this 20-week moving average again and what happens. If we look at the last cycle, at around the very similar moment, ADA was consolidating below the 20 and above this 50. So that's below the green line, above the 50. You can see ADA struggled with resistance at that 20-week moving average. It just failed to break above that area for months. And then finally, 1 month in November, ADA broke above that area. Now, here we are. We're kind of tracking a similar story. We have structure right now on the charts. That is to say, the breakout target to the downside, if ADA just fails, and I'm talking about it fails to hold above the 50, there's the target in the lower 30s. I'm bullish on Cardano, but I will not disregard and ignore bearish targets and bearish data just because of that. I'm a very data-driven person, right? And I look at these markets and these charts, no matter how bullish or bearish I am, I look at them just with a realistic attitude. And so even if ADA were to do that, it's a higher low on the ADA charts. At that moment, when we were talking about things like the stock RSI, it will be oversold. I anticipate that there would be a massive bounce. And this would be an environment where crypto is falling in general, and all of crypto is ugly. But that could be a higher low bounce for ADA, and we could see ADA move on to just all of a sudden break out to the upside and enter its own bull market. That's the downside scenario. I wanted to mention that because it's just there. Now, upside scenario, again, the 20-week moving average around 58 cents. I want to start pivoting now to the daily to get a sense of what or how long might this take. And I think I briefly touched on this in maybe my last Cardano video, but I wanted to give a little bit of a different angle. If we look at this chart here, on the daily chart, it's ugly. It's ugly to see this move. The 20-day just straight up plummeting towards the 200-day moving average. And if I zoom out, I want to show you something. This similar area back here last cycle, we're comparing the higher highs, higher lows of ADA. A similar thing was happening, and it was very ugly. And we're talking about this exact move happening back last cycle post Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin halving happened. ADA was making a move to the upside, but then from that swing high to swing low, 50+% to the downside. And what do you see here? We have the 20-day moving average plummeting towards the 200-day moving average. But look what happened. And this is what's interesting to watch now. So there's a 20 crossing the 50 up here, and then plummeting towards the 200, and then just shifting around just in time. I'm not sure that will happen again. If we go to the chart now, you can just see there is not much room left for this 20-day moving average above that 200-day moving average in red. First things first, whether that 20-day crosses below the 200 or not, I am looking to see if ADA can close candles above these areas. This is crucial. And the reason why I'm bringing it up, it's crucial in general, but the reason I'm really bringing it up is because right now, ADA price is right around those areas. So this could be, as these two meet, this is a huge resistance area. I'm talking about 50 cents to like 52 cents. Huge resistance area. ADA is there right now. So in the short term, I'm wondering, is this just going to be the resistance area for ADA and is this going to fall lower? And what will that look like if that is the case? Because if ADA puts in, and this is one thing I'll be watching, if ADA does fall and crypto starts falling, rejection off those moving averages, and goes lower, starts closing candles below where these candles close back here, but we put in a higher low on the RSI, there's a case we could actually be in the bottoming formation of this dip that Cardano is in. That could be some bullish divergence, a higher low on the RSI, and then a lower high on the price. That's one thing to anticipate, but that's, it's in play, but that's not happened yet. So right now in the short term, I'm wondering, is ADA going to break above these moving averages or not? And whether it's right now, tonight, overnight, because it is such a small move for ADA to do that, how will it happen? It could happen in the short term, just a nice green candle above. We'll track that. But if we go to the 6 hour, and this is why I wanted to discuss it, that 50 cent to 52 cent range, let's just mark it kind of just like this, something like that. There's moving averages. There's that resistance area. You can see ADA is like there right now. We want to see ADA break above that area. Right now on this 6 hour chart, you see these moving averages. They help really kind of illustrate the move that ADA is in. Even on a chart like this, you see how ADA is in a downtrend back here. It revisits moving averages and then goes lower, revisits lower. Now to the upside, looking for a very similar thing. Can ADA achieve this? So moving averages, kind of visiting those areas right now. Can we go higher and break this area in the short term? So this is all very short-term analysis, but if we're looking at this to the downside, if it fails right now at the area that it's at right now, what would be the fail-safe support that I'd be watching for to the downside? That would very simply be a Fibonacci retracement on the short term. This swing low right here to the swing high. If ADA continues falling down to this range, 46 cents to 44 cents, that's a higher low area for ADA. We'd want to see support. If ADA can achieve support, then we could see maybe ADA does kind of break above those moving averages on this very short-term chart. And finally, this area, the big area, that's the area we're waiting for. Maybe this takes a week for this to play out, but that could be a case for ADA to get above. But what I'm really waiting for truly is on the daily chart. It's these moving averages. I want to talk about the pullback to the lower trend line of the rising wedge, but there's a lot for ADA, and I'm talking about this right here, confluent with the 50-day moving average, but there's just a lot of resistance that ADA has to break through in the short term, and ADA is right there right now. That's really the biggest thing that I'm watching. On the macro, I want to give another reminder. As we're talking about all of this short-term analysis, ADA is in just a very similar position as it was last cycle. I realize that there's some cryptos that really took off out of the bear market lows, and that's fine. But there are a ton of coins like ADA that have just been taking their time in entering their own bull markets. And ADA is one of them. I'm thinking like Matic, Chainlink, Ethereum. They're all in the same group if you really dig into kind of the data of gains and all that. So it's just a matter of when will these altcoins make the move. It could be weeks, right? It could be months, but this is what I'm tracking. This is how it relates to ADA. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. I appreciate you cruising through. I hope you're doing well out there. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.